All right, so we're going to go ahead and get things started for this evening. I'm Annie Puffett. I'm the Director of Career Development here at Upper Iowa, and I'd like to welcome you all to this evening's edition of our Alumni Speaker Series. We are joined by Shelby Kobliska. She is a 2015 alum from our Exercise and Sport Studies program here on the Fayette campus. So welcome, Shelby. And I know, Dr. Duffy, you would like to say a few words before we kick things off, so I will turn it over to you for a minute.
Well, thanks a lot, Annie. It's great to have Shelby here. I've known Shelby for a while, I guess. Haven't seen you for a while, so now I am. And I just always do appreciate any of our alumni that take the time to come spread some their experience, tell students about some of the experiences and hopefully assist our students in the future. And for all of the students that are watching, I do encourage you to ask questions and as you're going along. So that'll help with the process also. So thanks again, Shelby. Okay. And looking forward to seeing you in the future. Okay.
So Shelby, I know there's several things that you want to talk about tonight, but first, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so thank you guys for having me. It's awesome to be on here. I appreciate the opportunity to share. I'm a proud Upper Iowa alum of 2015. Like we just shared, I live in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, with my husband, Mark, and my dog, Roxy, who is trying to shake my hand right now. I love coaching softball. I love being a part of the community here in Cedar Rapids where I live. And I love traveling, doing things outside, spending time with my family and friends.
All right. You transferred to Upper Iowa from Kirkwood after you completed your associate's degree. What made you want to choose Upper Iowa to be able to complete your 4-year degree?
Yeah, so in the process of transferring after Kirkwood, I was looking for a school that was a good fit both on the softball field, in the classroom, had a degree that was that suited me, and then also looked at things like classroom size and the size of the community, what type of opportunities there were, and then as a transfer student, like what opportunities that looked like. And fortunately, Upper Iowa has awesome partnerships with community colleges and really welcome transfer students. So the transfer rate and the opportunities and scholarships for transferring was awesome. The opportunity to be able to play sports and go right into Division II from a community college was an awesome opportunity, and that really helped. And then I was really attracted to the small classroom sizes, which we'll get into in a little bit, and what I liked about my program, but I thought there was so many opportunities, and not every college and university has those. That's really unique about Upper Iowa.
All right, thank you. Currently, you are the development director for the American Heart Association. Can you talk about your role and how your degree at Upper Iowa prepared you for that?
Sure. So when I was kind of thinking about how I'm using and what the experiences I got at Upper Iowa and how they're helping me now, there are a few different times where I can look back to specific projects or group work, individual things that I did in some of the classes. And in Carla Gavin's class, one of my favorite professors in that program, I took a lot of classes with her. One project that we did was as an individual, you had to build a sports complex of some kind. And the planning and the research that we had to do behind it wasn't just the fact that it was a sports complex, because I don't build sports complexes, but the skills that we needed and learned, and all of that went into that project. Communication, doing your research and figuring out how to do certain components of it, getting feedback from others and finding out what would work best. And all of that whole project, I do projects right now, and we put on events and plans, and a lot of those things I did in college, just in a different way. And a couple different things, like in Majeski's class, we this one time we had debates on diets. So she gave you an assignment that here was the diet that you're for, here's the diet that you're against, and you just took that project, and ours was, my team had for the paleo diet. So whether you believed in that or not, you had to research and find out how to advocate. And so that was one that it was a good teamwork, team building experience, but also advocating. So in the role that I have at the American Heart Association, advocating is huge. And anything you do in any profession, you're going to advocate. And if you're passionate about what you do, there's some advocacy pieces around every profession. So those are just a couple of projects that stuck out recent that I've used just in my recent planning for my job and the events we have coming up. And I look back to Upper Iowa, and a lot of the things we did in classes really prepared us in a lot of ways.
Awesome. Thank you. Being involved and putting oneself out there is one way to gain experience. Can you talk about the ways that you were involved at Upper Iowa while you were on campus?
Yes. So I really liked getting involved in both things on the field and off the field. And I think that really helped me get to where I am as far as those experiences. I think a lot of times getting into a little piece of advice for the athletes out there, their current students, get involved in something other than your sport. Being well-rounded is really important. So not only was I a part of an awesome softball team, and that was an incredible experience in itself, I was also a part of a newer program at that time called Athlete Peer Educator Program, where it was still involved within athletics, but the rallying the troops of the, was a kind of mentorship program with the new athletes and those returning, just so that communication piece and all that we did in that program to help mentor other athletes was a huge experience for me. And again, something current students you can put on your resume, you can gain a real experience from, and you can relate it. Not all the time can you graduate by just playing your sport and have all of the relatable experience. I mean, you can talk about difficult situations and pressure and failure, but when you're involved in something that is non-athletic related, in this mentorship program and things was awesome. I was also involved in FCA on campus, Fellowship of Christian Athletes. So being able to connect with other athletes and non-athletes too. So anyone can join that, even if you're not on a sanctioned sports team. Just the relationships that I got to build in that were pretty special. I also learned a lot being involved in the student athlete advisory committee, because there's a lot of things within the NCAA and rules and regulations and policies and things that are interesting. And when you're a student athlete in a position to advocate, to learn, and to give perspective and have a voice is really important. So whatever you end up doing after college, you're going to find yourself in those same situations where you're advocating, you're standing up for what you believe in, and you have a voice. So all of that really gave me a ton of a well-rounded experience, and I wouldn't change anything about it.
Thank you. Just a reminder, if anyone has any questions, please drop them in the comments so that Shelby can provide you more information on what it is that she does and her experiences here. So moving on, you are very involved in your community, and I know we've talked about this in several of our conversations. Can you talk about some of the roles that you have within your community and why it's so important to you to be involved?
Yes, I have a lot of opportunities to get involved in the community through the work that I do within the American Heart Association. We do a lot of local work, being able to get into communities, groups, into companies like today, being able to do hands-only CPR education with people to show them that they can make an impact by learning hands-only CPR is an amazing opportunity. They get to do a lot. Outside of work, I have the opportunity to be involved in a program in Cedar Rapids called Leadership for 5 Seasons. And it is a 1 academic year program that you're surrounded by about 35 to 40 other emerging leaders in the community. So it's a program about how you can get engaged in your community after the program. So throughout the entire year, it shows you bits and pieces and how you can really be a leader within the program. So I guess for me, I love the community that I live in, and there's so many opportunities. So I would just encourage people in your community and your area that you live in to get involved in something that will lead to other opportunities too, that I'm excited to be a part of. And I'm also on, because I live in Cedar Rapids, that's where my community college is. I was asked to be on the Kirkwood Community College Alumni Council Committee. We meet quarterly.
All right. You also mentioned that you are one time we were talking that you're a youth softball coach. Is that still something that you are doing as well in your community?
Yep. So that's another part of my passion. And I do feel like giving back to our community. So I'm a 13U softball coach. This is my second year with this program. Since I graduated and moved on from my softball playing days, somehow I found a way to be a part of the game. And, you know, to you athletes out there, even non-athletes, whatever you did in college, you can somehow do it when you graduate, whether that's in your sport. There's so many local things going on in all sorts of communities, whether it's being able to coach a youth team, always looking everywhere. They're looking for youth mentors within Big Brothers, Big Sisters, T-ball leagues, youth football, the ARC, which is for special needs. I mean, so many things you can get involved in. And I'm just happy that I can both give back and something that the softball gave a lot to me and gave me a lot of opportunities. So yeah, still involved in that. I'm really liking it.
Awesome. And this kind of segues into leadership and teamwork, making sure that, you know, you kind of have those skills when you're being involved. Leadership and teamwork are beneficial attributes that are going to help anyone's career. Working in a nonprofit and being a big advocate for involvement, what are some of the key qualities that you look for in a leader?
Relationship building. We call it as American Heart Association, building powerful partnerships. So that is a skill, that is something that you can work on if that's not something that you were born with. Just being able to connect with people. And if that's not you and that's not your skill set, I really think you can work at it, even if that's not you to get out there. We all have a way to communicate and to build relationships. And a big part of that is finding common ground with people. So besides building powerful partnerships and leadership, aside to that would just be listening. I think a lot of times when we're a part of things, we instantly think, oh, we got to be the one who speaks up all the time and advocates, but really listening is something that I've learned to do and be working to become better at. And as leaders, we really need to listen. So if you're a part of an organization that maybe it represents a group of people, or you're in a spot to influence, that's leadership, whether that's a position or not. It's you're be able to influence others, and being able to listen is really important and something that I'm growing to get better at.
Making connections and relationship building is so important, as you've already talked about, and helping with the advancement of your field. What would you say is your biggest piece of advice for relationship building? And I know you've kind of already touched on that a little bit.
Yeah, I can add to that a little bit. So, in terms of relationship building and getting to know people really remember how you treat them. And you never know when you're going to work with those people again. So when I graduated from Upper Iowa, as an example, I started working in the admissions office at Kirkwood Community College. Some of those relationships that I built there, and I met random people when people would come in to visit the college, job fairs, different things like that, people just passing on campus, the community's local college. So I was able to meet a lot of people. Then I feel like how you treat people and those initial reactions is really important, because then down the road, 3, 4, 5 years later, somehow you're going to cross paths with those people, or you're going to run into them, or maybe you're like, oh, do I know anybody that works at this company, or we need some volunteers for this or that. Oh yeah, I could reach out to this person, or being able to see some of those things come full circle is real. So I think that's a big part of relationships, is how you treat people, and also helping them too. Sometimes when you work in the nonprofit world, It's easy to feel like we're always asking of what we can do to receive from others, but what can you do within that? It's a two-way relationship. How can you help those people too? So being able to offer what you can and to ask, how can I help you? And then it's more of a relationship, two-way, rather than it's that one way of asking. So those would be the couple things that pop out to me.
All right, thank you. What are some ways that individuals who are interested in working in nonprofit can help prepare themselves for that future career?
Yeah. So if you have the opportunity to get involved in something that has to do with raising funds at some point in time, if you work for a nonprofit, that might become a part of what you do, might not be your primary role, but in a nonprofit, usually there's that piece of fundraising, right? Whether you work for a college and you asking for a donation, or you're working for just your local nonprofit organization. I would get involved in something on campus that you have to raise money. Getting involved in that and learning to talk to people about, hey, this is what we need, and this is how you can make an impact. Getting comfortable with that, and again, building that relationship. I really feel like in the nonprofit world will help you because it's not a scary thing. If you believe in what you're doing, it's not as uncomfortable as it sounds. So I think that's definitely one thing. And also understanding that there's lots of different things to do in the nonprofit world. So if I just talked about fundraising being a big side of it, but if that's not you, there are still lots of jobs within nonprofits that don't have to do with direct fundraising that can be very, very fulfilling. And so don't shy away from those opportunities. A lot of people get scared when they're like, oh, nonprofit, maybe they don't offer insurance, maybe they don't do this. There's a lot of great nonprofits out there, and you really get to make an impact and see that. So I'm a huge fan of it and would welcome any questions if anyone ever has them. Always feel free to reach out.
Absolutely. And even if individuals have questions on nonprofit, wanting more information after our conversation tonight, you can reach out to the career development office and we will be able to provide you with Shelby's contact information to continue to explore those conversations with her. So again, if there are any questions that you have for Shelby right now, please feel free to drop them in the comment section so that we can make sure we get those to her. Career readiness is a very important topic in the career services area that we work in here. And employers across the country are focusing on career readiness pretty heavily. What competencies do you feel are most important in helping one excel in their career goals, and why?
So big fan of communication. So you really have to hone in those skills, explore that. I think as a student at Upper Iowa, whatever career path you're on, stage, age, work on those communication skills. Whether that's we're talking, whether that's you're walking by somebody, making eye contact, saying hi, not being on your phone. So really working on those interpersonal skills. And also too, working on what does it look like to be in an interview, practice that. I remember when I was a student at Upper Iowa, the career development, career services department gave us opportunities to do resume writing, mock interviewing, do those things. If you think you're good at them, then go get better. I would definitely would encourage you to do that. And then the other one too I was thinking about was career and self-development opportunities. Don't decline a chance to get better. Even if you're like, wow, I'm not sure if that pertains to me, especially if it's free, if you have time to do it, go do those things to get better, because one, you might pick up one thing that helps you, or two, maybe you meet somebody at that career development thing and it leads into a job, or it leads into a new account for your current position. I mean, so many things that, like we talked about relationships, I mean, it comes full circle. So don't turn down opportunities to get better, and really work on communicating and listening. Listening is part of that communication.
how would you encourage others to improve upon those skills?
So I think taking advantage of those opportunities. So like we just kind of talked about, if they're offering something at Upper Iowa, do those things and practice. If you have an interview coming up, if you're a student, you will at some point, right? You'll all be applying for a job. Practice, ask your advisor, ask a friend, have a list of general questions and go sit down. Ask somebody at Upper Iowa, hey, you obviously interviewed to get your job. Can you sit down with me and pretend? So I think just practicing those things. And then for that self-development piece, just taking advantage of opportunities when they're given to you.
And a little plug for the Office of Career Development. Those are things that we still do within our office, the resume reviews, the mock interviews, helping you excel in those areas. So I will agree with Shelby 150% to please continue to take advantage of those self-development opportunities to be able to get a little bit better in that. Any questions for Shelby? Go ahead and ask them now before we wrap things up for the evening. Are there any final pieces of advice, Shelby, that you would have for UIU students, alums, the university community, whoever may be watching us this evening before we wrap things up?
Yeah, for me, I guess some advice that I would kind of close out here is to give back, and whatever that looks like. We don't all graduate and land some job that we make millions or anything like that, but just know it's important to give back. You don't have to be in a job where you're making buco bucks to give back, and a little bit makes an impact. So, just remember those opportunities that you have on campus right now. The reason why those things are happening is because people graduated and they're helping give back to the university. Donors are helping give back. And whether it's sometimes your time and helping volunteer at things, getting involved that way, but just remember that's important. And to be kind of looking at, whatever that job you land is, if you get a call that they ask you to donate, give $20. I mean, you can go out to eat and spend that in a minute, right? So just thinking about, you might not have the means to really support those, support the college in a way that you would hope to one day. But just know if we all helped out, that's going to continue those opportunities at Upper Iowa. And I think the same like community college as well. I think it's important to give back to what's important. That's an not shameless plug for nonprofits as well. It's just something that I grew up with parents that taught me to give back, and they always explain that, the opportunities you have throughout college wouldn't be possible without others giving back. So to be a part of that full circle and that family at Upper Iowa to, when you get that call from the call team, just give them a pledge. Say you will. One is going to give that student a win. Because I remember being on the call team a couple semesters, but really we can't, Upper Iowa can't keep doing what they do without alumni supporters. So.
Gosh, gotta have you here more often. I like what you're talking about.
Speaking of
Shelby,
giving back,
you're exactly right. And it's interesting. We've had students who do our fundraising here also, and I love to go in there and watch them when they're doing that. And they're developing their communication skills and overcoming objections. Try talking to someone you don't know and ask them for money. And so our students do a great job, and exactly what you're saying. They should take advantage of all those opportunities. Yeah, great. That's really great. You got some great advice here. I'm taking notes so I can make sure I get all squared away on this. Okay.
Speaking of giving back, there is a Dean's Challenge going on right now between our different schools and the different Dean funds that we have to help with academic and student support throughout the university. So a little plug for the things that are going on at Upper Iowa right now. You mentioned giving back, and that is one way that individuals are able to do that too, is the program that they were a part of while they were at Upper Iowa, or if they are really into student development and allowing our students those opportunities to be able to go and do some of those professional development opportunities. Now is the time to be able to give back to something like that. That's going on today and tomorrow. So a little bit of a plug for that stuff that is happening this week at Upper Iowa while we're talking about giving back. So I do not see any questions that have come through on the live feed. So if there are any questions that anyone has as they watch the playback for this, we will be looking at that as well. And I can pass those along to Shelby, as well as provide your contact information to individuals who are wanting to connect with you, Shelby, so that they can get their questions answered or learn a little bit more about nonprofit, the American Heart Association, whatever it is that they may be interested in. So as we wrap things up this evening, Shelby, I want to thank you for your time with us tonight and for all of the great things that you are doing in your work right now. And we encourage everyone to join us next month when we have another alum join us for the series as we wrap up our spring semester. So thanks everyone for joining us this evening, and have a great night.